Previously.
Been a humbling job, though I'm hardly known as a humble man. I've been a witness to history, much of it violent, much of it an abomination of values Americans hold dear. I've had a privileged seat at the centers of power, held the reins of that power, making sacrifices few are capable of which even fewer are willing. If people knew the truth, they'd riot in the streets. Too much is made of the will to power, as if our will is free, our choices our own. Our destinies are forged in our bones, made real by a raging impulse to self-destruct. I'm not a bad man, more a practical man. I have taken certain gifts I was given and made good men great. It is my greatness. I'm a father to two men who figured more in the future than they might ever know. Both would end up working for the FBI, both complex but dedicated men who sacrificed dearly, and in their dogged pursuits would end up paying a terrible price. Searching for truths as I parceled them out. Truths held only by the few who know the levers of power and the invisible hand controlling them. Is there life out there? Good heavens. To doubt it is a failure of more than the imagination. It is a failure to recognize the limits of our own stupidity, the nascency of our science, the rudiment of our tools. We listen, we search, we hope for a sign as if our eyes and ears are good enough, our brains large enough, our egos small enough. I'm an old man now. I will leave my own mark upon history, more than presidents or tyrants. I don't ask for loyalty and trust, the fleeting bonds of men. I ask only for the years to show my sons and their sons I was right. What their father did had to be done.
Unknown propulsion force. Von Braun is hiding something on that base.
Man up there, and his biology has been invaluable for our research. No more propulsion tests in the woods.
I don't want to do this.
Did it teleport?
It's what our government would never grasp. And while they were adventuring in Cuba and Vietnam and in Central America, I was busy in the Nevada desert, dissecting, reverse engineering, playing God with life forms, the stuff of science fiction.
His plots and ambitions.
Oh my gosh. We did it. That's really the moon? Yes, that's really the moon, Jeffrey.
That's how heroes are made.
I'm not sure what to say. Perhaps there are no words.
So, for now, we'll let you soak in this historic moment and reflect on what it means for our country and for the world. The Soviet cosmonaut has become the first to set foot on the moon.
Major storm. The locals said it was the lightning that took it down that night. Next morning, a rancher by the name of Mike Connors found his field covered in a strange metal. He said whatever the debris was, he could tell that it wasn't man-made. They took one look at it and they all thought the same thing. It was part of an extraterrestrial craft. As soon as the story hit the wire, it caused shockwaves far and wide. Papers in Europe even got hold of it. And that is when the big guns arrived. During that time, the wreckage was flown out of Roswell and taken to Texas, where Harding held a press conference. The saucer, he said, was nothing more than a weather balloon. If the government is covering up the existence of flying saucers, then you and I are in the best position to expose that truth.
You've seen how far the government will go to cover their secrets. They could ruin you.
If we're going to war, let's fire the first shot. They're real. They're real.
More of them are coming.
What do you mean?
Different ones. Not like him. Many different races. Different species. They're coming.
This visitor somehow displayed the way aliens have been genetically altering the development of our DNA from our very beginnings, and that they had inspired our greatest spiritual leaders.
Presented by NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
I am Werner von Braun. This motion picture was produced to enable you to experience more personally and vividly the most dramatic events of the Apollo 11 story.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition sequence start.
We choose to go to the moon. choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I think it means that the job of landing something on the moon where there's no atmosphere and using a rocket to slow it up and having the equipment still work is a very difficult job.
Before the end of the 60s, we will see a man in the moon, to the moon, an American, and we're very proud that our country continues to produce these young men who go so far and carry with them so much.
It's going to take some time, and I think we have to recognize it. They secured these large boosters, which have led to their being first in Sputnik and led to their first putting their man in space. We are, I hope, going to be able to carry out our efforts with due regard to the problem of the life of the man involved this year. But we are behind.
Many problems have been solved. We are ready to begin our first voyage to the moon.
We're in the final assembly building of the LEM. Stanley Kubrick and I have set ourselves several objectives. We hope to convey to the public the wonder and beauty and promise of the new age of exploration which is opening up before the human race.
Take one.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Take two.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Man walks on the moon. Man walks on the moon. First man from Earth walked on the surface of the moon this morning, and the suspense here in London is unbelievable.
Apollo 11, Houston. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming. And step off the LEM now. Neil and Buzz, the President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you. Over. That would be an honor. Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. Presented by NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. We will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Many years ago, the great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why did he want to climb it. He said, because it is there. Well, space is there, and we're going to climb it. And the moon and the planets are there, and new hopes for knowledge and peace are there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked. Thank you.
Shot. Frame 313 takes Kennedy in the head from the front. This is the key shot. The president going back and to his left. Shot from the front and right. Totally inconsistent with the shot from the depository. Again, back and left.
Listen, I don't want a president who's warm on the outside and warm on the inside too. I want one that's warm on the outside, but I want one who, when the tough decisions are made, is cold and tough and will make the right decision.
Wait a minute, this movement. It seems to have life. Organic life.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. Fate has ordained that the men who went to the moon to explore in peace will stay on the moon to rest in peace. For every human being who looks up at the moon in the nights to come will know that there is some corner of another world that is forever mankind. Good night.
In this place of bright lights and dark secrets, the quiet expanse of the desert felt strangely comforting, like we had left the land of fantasy and were finally back in the real world.
Do you have any idea where the N4B is with respect to us? Stand by.
There was something out there that was close enough to be observed, and what could it be? Mike decided he thought he could see it in the telescope, and he was able to do that. And when it was in one position, that it had a series of ellipses. But when you made it real sharp, it was sort of L-shaped. That didn't tell us very much. Now, obviously, the three of us were not going to blurt out, "Hey, Houston, we got something moving alongside of us, and we don't know what it is. You know, can you tell us what it is?" We weren't about to do that, because we know that those transmissions would be heard by all sorts of people, and who knows what somebody would have demanded that we turn back because of aliens or whatever the reason is. So we didn't do that, but we did decide, we just cautiously ask Houston, how far away was the S4B?
Apollo 11, Houston, the S4B is about 6,000 nautical miles from you now, over.
And a few moments later, they came back and said something like it was 6,000 miles away because of the maneuver. So we really didn't think we were looking at something that far away. So we just not to talk about it anymore until we came back in debriefing.
To this day, whatever it was the crew saw has never been positively identified or officially acknowledged.
The possibility that you might encounter aliens in space has to be considered in a very sensible and positive and realistic way. There were a lot of people within the program who went off later and became convinced that UFOs existed. And that led to some concern on NASA's part, where they got the agreement of the crew never to publicly talk about these things for fear of ridicule.
T-minus 2 minutes and counting. Seconds and counting.
Clock start, right? That's it, though. All English. Right. Okay, battle has it.
Looks good here, flight. Good agreement.
Okay, good. That country looks good, right? Okay, Capcom, we go, you understand? Okay, we go at 1, Capcom. Good flight. Okay, sir. Looks fine. Sure, man. It looks fine.
I knew that my search for the truth had been replaced by a need to believe, regardless of the facts. We had both been used by the secret society we knew as Majestic. Their goal was disinformation and manipulation. It made no difference if Nazis had actually built flying saucers. The point was, it served Majestic's purpose, that I believe it. And we never forgot we were fighting an enemy for whom there were no battle lines, no rules of war. They operated in a world of black and white, free of the contradictions and moral ambiguities that we constantly faced. Did we do the right thing? I don't know. But not knowing, having doubts and questions, that's what we were fighting for. Frustrating to have been a part of something without knowing what that something was. Maybe all we really needed to know was that he had faced his fears and we had faced ours.
Hey, Houston, are you hearing this?
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah.
Since then, the ocean has become a battlefield. Move, counter-move. It's hard to tell who's winning. It seemed the darkness was all around us. The Warren Commission investigation served as a chilling reminder of a president's death, and the lengthening shadows of Majestic and the Hive, which followed us wherever we went.
Unsere Seelen sind Natur und Flügel bis zum Himmel. Lass die Sonne in den Ozean stürzen, lass die Erde in Flammen aufgehen. Es reicht, stark zu sein und zu wissen, unsere Traummaschinen auszusenden in den Himmel.
Das Vaterland ruft seine Kinder. Mit Hilfe dieses Geräts sind wir in der Lage, die größte Kriegsmaschine aller Zeiten zu vollenden. Die Götterdämmerung wird fliegen! Heil Adler!
Weitermachen. Und?
In 20 Minuten ist die Erdflotte in Schussweite, mein Führer.
Ist Ihre Mannschaft einsatzbereit?
Wir warten nur auf Dr. Richter.
Geschütze laden.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem. We have a main bus B undervolt.
Okay, we want to keep the O2 and that kind of stuff working. We'd like to have RCS. Yes, please.
All right, I'm going to SDS.
Flight, the heart rates are skyrocketing. Econ, what's your data telling you?
O2, tank 2, not reading at all. Tank 1 is at 720. Oh boy, what's going on here? Flight, let me get back to you. Flight GNC? Flight, they're all over the place. Quadruple failure. That can't happen. It's got to be instrumentation.
Perhaps never in human history has the entire world been united by such a global drama. In New York City, thousands of people have gathered to watch updates of the mission in Times Square.
Many countries offered help, and the State Department said it would ask for it if it were needed. The House and Senate passed resolutions calling on the American people to pray tonight for the astronauts.
In Rome, Pope Paul led 50,000 people in prayers for the safe return of the astronauts. In Jerusalem, prayers at the Wailing Wall.
Houston, we're coming home.
We copy that, Dorito.
You, Harry. You the man.
Our mission was called a successful failure, in that we returned safely but never made it to the moon.
My
My testimony before the Warren Commission does not appear in the final report. It is scheduled to be unsealed on December 31st, 1999.